Ralph Rangnick has given an interview over the weekend where he said I had zero problems with Jadon Sancho since I've been there. Dortmund, whatever issues there were, they got the best out of him. He goes back, what, Friday? Yesterday provides an assist in the game. We've been debating this, full disclosure, we've been debating this during a break. A manager's job is to manage. And I think that Jadon Sancho's departure from United is a failure of management. And by that, I'm not just saying it's all on Ten Hag, because obviously the player himself, if there is an issue, then the player's got to show that respect. I kind of look at it in two ways, three ways, a football fan, a journalist, and as a parent. And if I have a son, and my son goes to work and the boss does something to make him feel that he's being hung out to dry, I want him to stand up for himself.
Yeah.
I don't want him to disrespect authority, but I want him within the boundaries.
But should he have done it publicly in terms of his right to reply to Erik ten Hag that came out in that press conference and said, look, you know, he's not training right. That's kind of, you know, praising it a little bit, but that's what he said. Sancho comes out publicly and almost says, you're making me a scapegoat, I'm not going to stand for that. Should he have done that in the first instance? The
apology should be as loud as the disrespect, as they say. And I think Ten Hag, in some respects, needs to find a way to create a set of circumstances where they can meet each other halfway. I'm not saying that there isn't any culpability on the foot of Sancho, because clearly there is, and you can't have players basically calling out managers, but at the same time, you know, he as an individual feels that he's been harshly treated by the manager. And it's quite striking that I've just given you two other managers that he's had where there haven't been these issues, and then one other manager where there has been the issue. Now, if Man United were high performing and all the players were on side and they're all reaching the apex of their form, then you can say, okay, that's well handled. United are a mess. And it seems as though, as I say, your job as a manager is to manage.
Yeah, but we've seen him. We've seen this
been handled as it could be.
We've seen a ruthless side to him before, haven't we? We saw it with Cristiano Ronaldo. We've seen it with Marcus, Rashford. You know, he's late. He's on the bench. You know, he's got that streak in him.
And that's fair enough. But I think as far
results.
as Ronaldo's concerned, Ronaldo's a different set of circumstances, because Ronaldo was an older player who was demanding to play every week, and it just wasn't sustainable. You know, you've got younger players, and you know you can't command your place in the side whether you're playing well or not. I think as far as Rashford's concerned, we've even seen the drop off with his form. 30 goals last season. He doesn't appear to be the same player this time around. And again, if you look at, I was watching the celebrations after the game with Pep Guardiola and City, and he wasn't just celebrating with De Bruyne and Oscar Bob, he was hugging Calvin Phillips and all of the other players on the periphery. And I just don't see the same kind of warmth. You look at Liverpool, you look at Arsenal, and the relationship all of those managers have with their players. I'm not seeing that kind of warmth between Ten Hag and his players. Good tactician, we know he's a nice guy, they've done well last season, and we're giving them their flowers. This time around, there are issues, and I think Sancho, for me, is a microcosm potentially of a bigger problem.
Yeah. Does he have to be warm? Does he to get results? Do you have to have that in your armoury? If we witness what we've got, you know, potentially at the top, you've got the Klopps, you know, an arm around. You've got the Ange Postecoglou's. You've got Unai Emery. We see him with his players. We've got the Pep. Is he slightly more removed? Is it more sort of, you know, of the sort of Sir Alex Ferguson type affair that we're seeing with Erik ten Hag, that perhaps it's not, they need more of an arm around those players, do you think?
Well, it does seem that he's more removed just from interviews and sort of press conferences and what we see of him. He doesn't come across as a particularly warm, fatherly figure, but we're not in the dressing room. What I would say on this whole thing, two things can be true at once, well, many things can be true at once. One is that it doesn't say much for Sancho's respect for Ten Hag, the way this is all played out. And that's a key first-team player who clearly doesn't have that relationship with his manager. And that's a fault on both parts. Ten Hag has to earn that to a degree, and Sancho has to show it too as the player and as the lesser man in the authority. And the second thing is, culture is really important at every club. And any manager who's had success would tell you this. And if you look at Arsenal, for example, Mikel Arteta ostracised and cut out a number of players, froze them out, and was empowered to do so, and that made a huge difference. So I totally understand the argument from Ten Hag that if someone is not doing what they should be doing in his eyes, then he has to be firm. And he was firm on Ronaldo.
Gone. Right, so Sancho's gone. Is culture any better at Man United?
The message that he sent, rightly or wrongly, is that if you do not hit the standards that I personally expect, then you will not be involved in this team.
So that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
They've won now, what is it, 3 of their last 10 games, right? Their performances on many occasions have fallen way below the standard befitting of a Manchester United shirt. In many cases, they're not even doing the basics. Would you say the culture's any better for Sancho's departure?
Probably not. But we can argue, I think, until the cows come home about the what led to the statement from Sancho and the press conference with Ten Hag. I think that led to that. We can argue about whether what was right and what was wrong. But I think from the moment Ten Hag makes that move of you are out until you apologise, until you fix this, he can't row back on it.
No.
What a sign of weakness it would be to say, actually, we've lost 3 games in a row, you're back in. Then every player knows, okay, he doesn't stand by what he says. From the moment he made that call, whether it's the right call or not is up to the debate, but from the moment he made that call, he had to stick to it. And from that point on, I think the inevitable consequence was Sancho going.
I don't necessarily disagree with you about he has to stick by it. I just wonder if, and we've seen many occasions where managers have frozen players out, but when there have been injuries or suspensions, they've managed to create just enough of a link, retain that bridge that they can bring them back into the fold.
Yeah, was there a situation that Erik ten Hag could have wove, to the media, to the press, but did something behind the scenes with Sancho to repair that relationship? It feels like it was a 50-50 situation. It feels. Yeah,
and when he says to you, as a journalist, it's frustrating when a manager says there are issues behind the scenes.
Yeah, and then he certainly didn't want to talk.
Yeah, come on.
I did push him a few times. You didn't see the whole thing, but yes, he didn't want to talk about it.